be going over Lab 4. This is where we used our dairy simulator tags from our previous lab. The first step is to store all Tower 1 and Tower 2 values in the historian. So if we go over to our vision, we can see in the towers our fan speed, makeup, MMOH, pH, and temp, and we have that for both towers. We were told that our pH, temp, and fan speed need to be configured as on change. So if we go to pH, for example, and we edit the tag, we see that this is an on change sample mode, and it is the same for temp as well as fan speed. But if we go to makeup, and we click edit tag and we go down, it is on a periodic sample mode, and that's the same for the MMOH. It's also the same for all three within the pumps under the tower, so the circle HOA, the chemical HOA, as well as the bromine HOA are all configured on the periodic. This is all the same for Tower 1, as well as the pumps. So we go back and we look at our next step. Some compressor 1 and compressor 2 values must be scaled to their actual values. So we go back to our client, we go to our compressor, and we go to line voltage, edit the tag. We see here our scaling, and it's on a linear scale. And we also see that this is being saved to our historian on an on change. It's the same for motor amps, different scaling, still being saved to the historian on change, as well as our inlet oil pressure, as well as and our temp inlet oil. So we have scaling, as well as our on change historian saving. Finally, for the inlet oil temp, we have our scaling, as well as being saved to the historian on change. Go back for compressor 1, and we see that the same 4 have all been historized as well as configured for scaling. So now we go back for the next step. It tells us motors 1 through 8 will all be configured in the same way. So scaling for any raw input value of 0 to 103 for the current for 140 volt 5 amp motor, 5 horsepower motor, apologies. And it wants us to take the readings at least 60 samples every 2 hours, which is 1 sample every 2 minutes. And then we should have an alarm configured for anything greater than 7.8 amps. So we go back to our client again, compact that, we open up our motors, and we see it's being saved to our historian, we have an alarm set to it, and we also have it for scaling. So go to the edit tag, here's our scaling, we have that put into amperage, we have it being saved on change, and then if we go to our alarms, we see that we have an alarm labeled motor 5 amps. This is being pulled from the amps value source, and it is under the acknowledgement of true. And it is like that for motors 1 through 8. It tells us that no tag should be stored at a rate faster than 1 per minute. If we go back to our tags, we can see that on all of the historian saving, I've used the same. It has a minimum of 1 minute between samples and a maximum of 2 minutes between samples. This allows us to not have more than 1 per minute, but it also allows for us to get the full 60 samples every 2 hours. So now if we go over to our Vision client for the next part, for motors 1 through 4 should be displayed on window 3 of your project. Oh, wrong one. So if we go here and we go to window 3, labeled refrigeration 1 in our navigation bar, we see that all of our amp values for our different motors are being placed here. It's the same for refrigeration 2, motors 5 through 8 are all right here. And then it wants us to create a new main window for our project for the alarm status table. It wants us to display all active and unacknowledged alarms. It also wants us to be able to get through to the navigation bar, and the navigation bar should have an alarm button labeling the alarm page. It also says that the alarms we put into place should be descriptive. So if we go back to our client and we go to alarms, we see all of our different alarms, active or unacknowledged, and then our label shows motor 1 amps through motor 8 amps. This is lab 4. If there are any issues with it or I did anything wrong, please let me know. Have a great day.